So we are live once again, folks. Good evening. Welcome to Friday Night Tech Talk. I'm Mobile Geezer, and if you're on the YouTube channel, you know you're on my Mobile Geezer channel. But we also simulcast on Facebook and on X. So you can go to any of the three and follow us live. And here's Eleanor just popping in right on time. Hey, Eleanor, glad you're here. But she was right on the dot today. And nobody else in as yet. I know Brian wasn't here last week, and then he sent me a message on Saturday that he was very upset that he had to go to a function and he missed it. He's very faithful, but he still sent it out and spread it around on Twitter, still donated as he always does. So, but Eleanor's one of the very big regulars, along with Brian, and usually along with Annette from California too. We'll see who shows up. And last week we did have Ted. He took the time to be on the show with me, which was very, very good. And as most of you know, when I don't have Ted, and very rarely will pop in, so it's usually a much quicker show when I'm by myself. But if you're new here, welcome. And we talk about some of the tech stories from the last Friday to this Friday, every week at this time. And so I will show you, like I do every week, where you can follow the show notes on my webpage. So I'm sharing screen. And if you go to mobilegeezer.wordpress.com, if you click on today's date, you'll get just the show notes for tonight's stories. And I picked some articles out. And on the weeks where there's a big event, I usually have an article about that. As far as I know, there were no big events this week, but we've got the Apple's WWDC coming next Monday. So next week we'll have a big event. So on the rest of the time, I just try to pick out articles that I think might be interesting to you as they are to me. And I assume anybody who's here is somewhat of a techie. So hopefully you guys are as interested in these articles. And I try to find articles that you don't see everywhere else. So when we're here every week, I give you a little preview of what we're going to talk about. So first story, I said, AI, enough already. Ain't that the truth? This is on Android Central. Jerry Hildenbrand has had enough. Now, Jerry is very knowledgeable. He was a developer for a long time. He's the guy we all think of, I think, as the big knowledgeable guy at Android Central. So we'll take a look at his article, and he makes some very, very good points about AI. And a lot of us are tired of hearing about AI, but Silicon Valley guys keep pushing it. Why? Because it's making them rich. Next story, which to me was the big story that I did find this week. It's not major, but I said NVIDIA, more valuable than Apple. Well, turns out as of this week, yes, they are. So they're above Apple and below Microsoft. So I said, Microsoft coming for you. And that's on The Verge. So we'll take a look at that story. I was surprised when I saw it that NVIDIA had passed Apple. So third story, if you remember, I gave you the video, a one-time video about Microsoft's recall controversy. And a lot of people are upset that all the new Microsoft laptops that are coming out from, I think, 6 different companies, they all have a recall built in. And I told you about it. A lot of people are upset about the security issue, and they have a response to it. I just said Microsoft's response to the recall controversy, weak at best. So we'll look at that on Tech Radar. Then, was it last week? I think it might have been last week. I told you iFixit is ditching Samsung. iFixit, yes, is ditching the Samsung repair program. They're not signing a new contract. Well, turned out the Geek Squad at Best Buy is also ditching the Samsung repair program. So I just thought that was interesting that they joined iFixit in that. So we'll go over that. That was on The Verge. And I just happened to find this story from Tech Radar. I just said Bing News better than Google News. Well, this guy seems to think so. So we'll take a look at that. And finally, Google Messages RCS partnership later this year might save your life. So just an interesting little story, and it's not here yet, but it should be here by the end of the year. So those are the 6 stories that we're going to go over tonight, and nothing new in the comments. Now, of course, if Ted does come in and join us, I'll certainly let you know. I'm always happy when he does. If by some miracle Will happens to join us, I'll let you know. Now, of course, Will works a regular 5-day-a-week job all week, and then on weekend he works another job where he works 48 straight hours full time. So I can see why he doesn't have the time to come in most of the time. So we're going to start up with our first story. So back to sharing screen. And I said AI enough already. Ain't that the truth? So let's go over to Android Central. And by Jerry Hildebrand, like I said, if there's anybody at Android Central, pretty much all of us love, it's Jerry. And I met Jerry, well, now it's 9 years ago, but really, really knowledgeable and nice guy. So he said, I'm sick of AI. Enough is enough. Now, this was a week ago, or almost a week ago, but I just thought this was worth sharing since most of us have a very high opinion of Jerry's, the way Jerry looks at things. So I'm going to drop this into Reader View, get rid of some of these ads. He's like, okay. Once upon a time, there was this thing called AI. It started as a bit of code that could amalgamate information from one source so it could be manipulated to do useful things. As it grew, people writing that sort of code realized that there was potential to do even more useful things with it. So dedicated computers were designed and built to be programmed to crunch the code even faster. Oh, and if you remember last week, I did bring you an article about how people are not really using AI very much, including myself. So this came up at a good time following that up. So Jerry says, then someone, call him Jeff, decided that everything needed more AI. Jeff might have been drunk or high that day. Jeff pitched his idea to the right person, and AI transformed from something useful into something stupid. So Jerry does not bite his tongue about what he thinks of things. So I love that about him. And you can't get away from it. And that's true. Every place you turn, they're pushing AI at you in your face. And you'll see that as we go on with other stories. I know I'm biased. After all, I have to look at tech all day, every day to make my living because my lifelong dream of being a professional slacker isn't going to pay my bills. I also know that I'm not alone, and a lot of people are getting sick and tired of AI this and AI that every time they look at a screen, including me, that's for sure. I'm also not some Luddite or an old man yelling at the clouds. Hopefully, I'm much older than Jerry, but I think I'm not too in this case. At least not this time. There are some valid concerns about AI and how it's taken over every facet of our tech lives. Damn it, Jeff, this is your fault. AI will make us lazier and stupider if we let it. Here it says, if it takes 3 hours to dry 3 towels, how long does it take to dry 9 towels? This is an example. This is the answer. It takes 3 hours to dry if it takes 3 hours to dry 3 towels, it means that each towel takes 3 hours to dry individually. That is so stupid. Therefore, if you want to dry 9 towels, you simply multiply the drying time for 1 towel 3 hours by the number of towels, 9. So 20. So it's saying set 27 hours to dry 3 towels. And this is an example of the kind of stupid answers that AI will give you. This looks like it was from OpenAI or ChatGPT, but I saw a video today of a guy who's somewhat of his channel is mostly dedicated to AI stuff and robots, and he gave a ton of examples of Google's AI coming up with really stupid responses. So that's the point. AI doing things like monitoring apps that use too much of your phone's battery is great. AI that makes it easy to fix a picture you took so that grandpa uh, looks awake, or one of the kids isn't digging in the mud is fine and convenient. AI trying to actively teach you something could be good, but it's not. That's because AI isn't intelligent regardless of the label on the tin, and you can't really learn anything. Hey, now, this is important. This is a guy who, was a developer. I was a programmer for 34 years, so I 100% agree with him. AI at every level is just a computer program that spits out the information it was programmed to spit out. And this is what any developer or programmer will tell you. Computers can only do what people program them to do, and that's all they'll ever do. Google has given us plenty of proof with the mess that is AI search and admits it. And anyone who asks ChatGPT about drawing towels, see, I knew that was ChatGPT, knows zero critical thinking is involved. Is cramming it into every new phone or laptop really such a good idea? It's comical in a way, and laughing at the dumb shit. No, I hate saying that, but okay. A company worth billions is willing to spit out as fun. These programming uber nerd types make the same mistakes we do because they are people. Humans aren't perfect, but those errors aren't the problem. That's true. Those arise when the errors sound plausible and correct enough that we believe them. And this is the problem. AI is coming up with so many answers that are wrong but sound right to people, and that's going to lead to a big problem. AI leans heavily on plagiarizing, scratch it out, copying things someone else has already said, and that's what AI does. And that's why these large language models, all they do is amalgamate information. That's all they're doing. Since people aren't perfect and can make mistakes, sometimes AI is going to be wrong, but it sounds like it's right, and there's the problem. Unless we can fact check everything some controversial AI bot tells us, we aren't going to know. And this is where people believe what it's coming back with, whether it's right or wrong. Do you want to take the time to fact check everything Microsoft Copilot or Google Gemini tells you? Nope, neither do I. If I'm doing that, I could skip the bot and look it up myself. Relying on a bot that may or may not be right is lazy, and companies want us to do more of it. In other words, they want us to be lazy. Don't get me started on people who purposefully use AI to spread bad information. Every time some politician or stupid action group uses AI to make an image where people have 11 fingers across 3 arms and try to pass it off as proof of something, a kitten dies. Those are bad, evil people, and AI helps them become better and more evil. So what can we do about it? No, that is not Jerry, by the way. Unless you are willing to throw away everything you own that has a screen, you will be inundated by stupid AI, and we all are every day now. Eventually, AI should get better, but nobody is going to slow down and wait for it. Doing the right things isn't as profitable as telling us how AI will disrupt some sectors, and Company X is going to be at the forefront. Yeah, that's what they keep telling us, but he's saying this is just stuff they say. None of it is true, I guess. AI is a tech buzzword that isn't going away anytime soon. Sure, because certain people are have gotten rich and are getting richer by the day on it. You have all the tools to combat the insanity. You only have to use them. Think critically. That's very important. Know that there is a high likelihood that anything AI tells you is wrong, and that's what you have to keep in mind. If AI says something, take the attitude, well, maybe that's not the right answer. Know that the Facebook group your uncle is in will be more than willing to spread doctored AI-generated images. Know that now more than ever, much of what you see is a lie, and you'll quickly learn how to sort fact from fiction. It's not up to us to fix this mess. I hope the companies who have pushed this at us are willing to do it, but we can only depend on them to do the profitable thing. That's true. In the meantime, feel free to think less of every tech company willing to be so bad at it. So he's putting it out straight, and he's 100% right. So I thought that was a good story to start with. So I'll get out of here and see if we have any comments. Oh, and Annette has popped in. Hey, Annette, glad to have you here. So we've got Eleanor and Annette, two of our most faithful. I'm guessing Brian must be busy again, but if I know Brian, he'll watch the whole show tomorrow and then spread it around Twitter for me. So glad you're here as always, Annette. And I've only done the first story, and that was Jerry Hildebrand, which pretty much we all know from Android Central, and he is just sick of AI, and I think we all are. And if you remember, I had that story about how a lot of people, including myself, aren't using AI very much, so it was a good follow-up. So now I'm going to go to, like I said, there was no big presentation this week, but this story really surprised me. NVIDIA more valuable than Apple, Microsoft coming for you. This was on The Verge. I found this yesterday on The Verge. And like I said, it surprised me quite a bit. NVIDIA is now more valuable than Apple at $3.1 trillion. So it's just past Apple by a tiny, tiny bit, but it did pass Apple. The AI boom has pushed NVIDIA's market cap high enough to make it the second most valuable company in the world. So Microsoft is still out front. So like I said, this is from yesterday by Emma Roth. I'm sorry, day before yesterday by Emma Roth. So let's put this into reader view, get rid of some of these ads. And this is a good follow-up considering that our first story is about how people are sick of AI. But this is what's making NVIDIA so rich, because people are buying into it. The AI boom has pushed NVIDIA's market cap high enough to make it the second most valuable company in the world. NVIDIA has become the second most valuable company in the world. On Wednesday afternoon, the chip-making giant's market capitalization hit $3.1 trillion, putting it just ahead of Apple at $3 trillion, so just barely ahead. As NVIDIA dominates the AI race with its flagship H100 chip, they keep coming up with more AI chips, the company's market cap has only continued to rise. And because people are buying into the hype, NVIDIA is making out like a bandit here. NVIDIA became a $1 trillion company in May 2023, so just over a year ago. Then skyrocketed past $2 trillion in February of this year, making it more valuable than both Amazon and Alphabet. So they passed Google and they passed Amazon. Here's the chart showing it, and there's the 3.1 that they hit just this past Wednesday. So in May, NVIDIA reported making a whopping $14 billion in profit on account of all the chips it's selling. Like I said, they're making a lot of AI chips. NVIDIA now only trails behind Microsoft, which currently has a market cap of $3.15 trillion. So Microsoft, NVIDIA, and Apple really, really close. The chip maker's stock currently sits at more than $1,220 per share, but NVIDIA plans on splitting the stock on June 7th, so today. NVIDIA's AI accelerators make up between 70% and 95% of the market share for AI chips, according to CNBC. That's a lot. The company now plans to launch a new AI chip on a yearly basis, starting with the Blackwell B200 GPU that's expected later this year. So as long as people buy into the AI hype, they're going to keep getting richer. So it just surprised me so much. And to me, that was kind of the big deal of the week. Because when you can pass Apple, you've done something. Can they sustain it? And let's see if they can sustain the AI hype that people believe in. Yeah, they probably can. But nobody's sure if that's true because it is nothing but hype. So, all right, nothing new in the comments. So we'll go on. It's going to be a quick show tonight, folks. Okay, so when I did that standalone story about the recall controversy of the stuff that's coming out on Microsoft new laptops, and I think it's next week they're coming out. A lot of people complained about it, wrote stories about it, and this is Microsoft's response. I said weak at best. This was on Tech Radar, so let's see what they have to say. And this was from yesterday. Microsoft defends controversial Windows 11 recall feature, but in a feeble, unconvincing manner, and boy, is it. But basically what they do is they duck the questions. If anything, we're now more worried about the feature for Copilot Plus PCs. And yeah, all the Copilot Plus PCs, I believe, are coming out next week. So let's go into read a view. Oh, and this was by Darren Allen. So let's get into read a view. Windows 11's recall feature set to be a cornerstone ability for Copilot Plus PCs, allowing for a supercharged AI-powered search of the activity history of the system, continues to stir controversy. And Microsoft's recent defense of the functionality won't likely soothe the nerves of anyone. Yeah, because she doesn't say anything. In the guy's asking her straight out questions, and she's hemming and hawing. Or at least that's our feeling following the register, picking up on comments that came from Jaime Teven, chief scientist and technical fellow at Microsoft Research, in an interview at an AI conference with Aaron Brynjolfsson, director of Stanford Digital Economic Lab. And I actually looked up how to pronounce his name yesterday. So it's Brynjolfsson or Brynjolfsson. I think it's Brynjolfsson. So Brynjolfsson observed that after recall was revealed by Microsoft, there was a backlash, you're not kidding, against all the privacy challenges around that. To recall briefly, in case you missed the concerns flying around this feature, it sits in Windows 11 and takes regular screenshots of everything you're doing, and there's the problem. And Ted just popped a note in on a date. He's at the museum, but it looks like an interesting list of stories tonight. Yeah, he's already got the list. So, all right. Well, hopefully he's learning stuff or enjoying his date at the museum. So I guess he's having a night at the museum. I've seen that picture too many times, I guess. Those grabs can be searched by AI at a later date, so you can find out all manner of useful info, and there's no doubting it's useful. So what this is saying, it's basically tracks everything you do from the time you get that computer, the ones that are coming next week. And that's why everybody's worried. The worry is that recall represents a double-edged sword. With the convenience of a super powerful search of all your PC usage history on one side. So all of your PC usage history, it's got everything. And the specter of all that data falling into the hands of a hacker on the other side. That's what people are worried about. To say, and none of this goes to the cloud, which we'll get to that, but it's still dangerous. To say there are lots of security and privacy concerns with how the AI feature is implemented would be a massive understatement. Brynjolfsson then encouraged Teven to address these issues. So he's trying to ask straight up. So talk about both the pluses and minuses of using all that data and some of the risks that creates, and also some of the opportunities. So he's asking for pluses and minuses. He doesn't get an answer to both. He only gets an answer to one. A balanced question, but Teven elected to ignore the minuses part, exactly, of the equation entirely and only talk in vague and evasive terms. She said, yeah, and so it's a great question. So she tells him it's a great question, then she doesn't answer it. She only half answers it. This has come up throughout the morning as well, because, yeah, I'm sure they've been getting nothing but complaints from people about, because these PCs are coming out next week from, like, I think 6 different companies. The importance of data. And this AI revolution that we're in right now is really changing the way we understand data. So, again, she's mentioning the AI revolution, but is that the problem here? No, the problem here is this thing is taking copies, screenshots of every single thing you do on your computer forever, as long as you have this computer. She moved on to talk about businesses using data before addressing the consumer angle as follows. So she's still talking, supposedly still answering his question. And as individuals too, we have important data, the data that we interact with all the time. And there's an opportunity to start thinking about how to do that and to start thinking about what it means to be able to capture and use that. Has she answered the question? No, she has not. But of course, we are rethinking what data means and how we use it, how we value it, how it gets used. And here's what he says, a waffly and not very helpful response, frankly, because she did not answer the question. And I used to sing a song by the Alan Parsons Project that I think applies here, psychobabble. That's all she gave us, was nothing but psychobabble. Undeterred, he's still trying, Brynjolfsson tried a specific angle to try and draw Microsoft's research chief scientist to actually comment meaningfully on all concerns raised around recall. So he's still trying to get her to answer it. Is it stored locally? And of course, we know it is. So suppose I activate recall, and I don't know if I can, but when you have something like that available, I would be worried about all my personal files going up into the cloud, which they don't. Microsoft or whatever. Do you have it kept locally? It's an easy reply in this case, though, as Microsoft has already made it clear that the data is only stored locally. And what's everybody worried about? A hacker getting into your computer, of course, because if it's stored there, they can get it too, right? Teven indicated that that's the case again. Yeah. So this is a foundational thing that we as a company care a lot about, is actually the protection of data. So recall is a feature which captures information. It's a local Windows functionality. Nothing goes into the cloud, everything's stored locally. That's very true. The problem is when you get these new PCs, recall is turned on automatically. And if you don't remember to turn it off, it's making a copy of every single thing you do from day one. That's the problem. Analysis. Never mind thinking, we need some action. Obviously, that's good to hear, but as noted, we've heard it before. And sadly, that was your lot. Tougher questions weren't raised, so she never answered the question. And Teven certainly didn't take any opportunity to proactively tackle some of the flack fired at recall in recent times, including me and the article that I put out, showed you guys last week. The message, vague as it was, consisted of thinking about how we capture and use data. What has that got to do with what he asked? But with recall about to launch in Copilot Plus PCs later this month, and like I said, I think it's next week, it's a bit late to still be thinking, isn't it? These devices are on the cusp of release, and recall will be used in a very real way across some or many of these new machines, with some of the mentioned worries around how it could go wrong also being very real. As the register points out, some folks are fretting about legal implications, that lawyers could leverage recall data on a PC against someone. Yes, that's true. Possibly accessing all kinds of past messaging, even those that are of the auto-delete after reading variety. Sure, you could auto-delete them, but it's already taken a screenshot of what you did. A privacy watchdog is already investigating the feature before it's released. That's good. And security experts are throwing red flags left, right, and center, frankly, with some major worrying underway about how recall could make it a breeze for hackers to steal a ton of sensitive data, apparently very easily and quickly if your PC is unfortunately compromised. And that's very true. Aside from all of this, our main beef with the setup of a Copilot PC and how it falls short with recall. The method of running the feature past a Windows 11 user doing setup feels clunky. That's right, because it's turned on by default. And like it's crafted to allow for people to leave it on by default, more than likely, if they don't understand what's being asked of them, which may be the case with less tech-savvy users. And let's face it, the majority of people that buy a PC are not tech-savvy users. There are lots of questions here, and Microsoft is failing to address them as far as we've seen. That's right. It's all kept local and everything will be fine is glossing over myriad issues here. While at this point it seems unlikely that the recall data tanker can change course meaningfully, we're that close to launch, we can hope that at the very least Microsoft deals with the issues around setup. Yeah, they could make the setup so it's not turned on by default. This needs to be far more transparent, and recall needs to be off, in our opinion, I agree 100%, by default, unless a Copilot Plus PC user makes a fully informed decision to turn on. That's how it should ship, turned off. The way the feature setup is dealt with right now just isn't good enough, and that's a failing underpinning all the other concerns here. A root problem that needs to be tackled and hopefully will be. Fingers firmly crossed. We've contacted Microsoft for a comment. So, no answer yet. But Microsoft knows people are really, really upset about this. So my guess is they're going to have to address it, and sometime by next week or whenever these are coming out. So kind of an important story, I thought, the fact that they came up with such a feeble answer, and she tried this psychobabble answer that never answered anything. Like somebody's not going to see that she's not answering the question. So nothing new in the comments. All right, next story. And again, I put this in because I had told you about iFixit is not renewing their contract with the Samsung repair. Well, Geek Squad joining iFixit, ditching Samsung repair program. So this was on The Verge. And this was from last week. I'm sorry, from yesterday. Sorry. Best Buy is shutting down its Samsung repair program. Geek Squad employees were told to prepare to send their Samsung components back by Wes Davis. And like I said, this was from yesterday. So let's drop into review. It's been an interesting couple of weeks for people who want ways to get their Samsung phone fixed, between revelations about the company's onerous repair shop contracts and a failed iFixit contract renegotiation. Yeah, because once we all learned that part of the contract that they want anybody fixing Samsung phones is if you see a third-party part in that phone that's not a Samsung part, you're required to take it out, even if it's working. We all found that out. To add to that, Best Buy's Geek Squad is in the middle of shutting down its Samsung Authorized Service Provider Program, ASP, which lets certain Best Buy stores repair your phone with genuine Samsung parts, tools, and training. The Verge was initially tipped off to a Geek Squad subreddit thread saying the company was leaving the program. Several others in that thread and another are Best Buy workers one appeared to confirm the same, so everybody agreed. Next, we spoke with a Geek Squad employee who not only corroborated these reports, but also provided an internal screenshot stating that Samsung ASP is ending in all SASP locations. So I guess this is the screenshot. It directs employees to begin preparing to return their parts. So there's the screenshot. This communication intended for all store employees in these stores. So it's pointing to the stores that actually do the repairs. applicable field letters included for visibility. Samsung ASPs ending in all SASP locations. You may see a reduction in scheduled appointments due to scheduling being turned off. So you can't schedule anymore either, and we'll get to that further down. But this does not affect your ability to continue repairs until further direction is provided. Start organizing your Samsung ASP section. This includes ensuring all parts are labeled, ESD packaged, and ready to process for send. So get it ready to send it back to Samsung. Keep an eye out for an update soon, which will include an execution guide detailing scheduling, parts send back, and more. The Samsung ASP program ensured that techs at authorized Best Buy stores were certified to repair Samsung phones with official Samsung parts. Only certain stores were part of the program, and if you were near one, it would show up when you attempted to schedule a repair. But several Verge editors couldn't find, so they were already turning this stuff off, couldn't find a participating store near them when we checked, and now that Best Buy page appears to be gone entirely. Samsung's authorized service center locator, so they have a Samsung locator where you can go get stuff repaired, also lists ASP stores, but at some point in the last few days, Best Buy stores seem to have disappeared from Samsung's locator. One store I'd seen listed over a week ago at the Fort Worth, Texas suburb of Hewlett, that's close to Ted, is no longer listed. I also couldn't find any Best Buy locations listed when I searched other major metropolitan areas, including Los Angeles, California, Denver, Colorado, and Miami, Florida. So it looks like they just took them all away at once. Instead, listed stores are almost exclusively U-Break iFix locations. But of course, iFixit isn't going to work with them anymore either. Now get this, Best Buy and Samsung are not denying that they're winding down the program. Both sent non-denials to The Verge when we asked. So if you ask them, they're not going to say it, they're not doing it, which tells you they are doing it. It's funny that they won't come out straight up and say it. We're in discussions with Best Buy to determine how Samsung can best support our customers moving forward. Reads a statement from Samsung head of mobile customer care, Maria Renato del Castro, adding that Samsung has more than 9,000 Samsung mobile certified technicians in the U.S. providing walk-in, mail-in, and We Come to You van services. I didn't know they had new We Come to You van services. We now know how important it is to our customers that we're there for them with the right services and expertise for their technology. And we're currently working together with Samsung to evaluate the best way to support our mobile customers with authorized service and repairs, writes Best Buy spokesperson Katie Klistner. But they're still ending the program. While before anyone can schedule a Samsung repair at Best Buy, stores will apparently now only accept requests for phones, get this, bought at Best Buy, and only then if you purchase Geek Squad cell phone complete protection insurance. So it's a lot like Apple now. Replacement may also now involve the deductible, which can be $199 to $249, depending on how much your phone costs. Yeah, it sounds a whole lot like Apple to me now. Despite the apparent wind down of this repair program, the two companies seemingly still have tight relationship. Yeah, this is weird. During Best Buy's recent earnings call, CEO Corey Barry said the company is actually expanding a partnership with Samsung for vendor-provided expert labor in appliance departments across hundreds of stores. So it's only the phones that are having this issue. Samsung already often stations experts inside Best Buy stores to help sell the brand's personal electronics. But Best Buy's plan for next year is to create further efficiencies in its supply chain and Geek Squad repairs, Barry said on the earnings call. Some Best Buy employees, now get this, are apparently bracing for layoffs today, June 6th, this was yesterday, after the company told its field deployment project team employees to work from home. Yeah, when they tell you to work from home, probably something not good is coming, and await a business update. I don't know if they got laid off because I didn't get a chance to look because I was working today. Best Buy Geek Squad employees already reported mass layoffs in April. Best Buy's exit of the Samsung ASP program would leave fewer options for Samsung owners, and like Samsung Cares, right, to repair their phones in light of iFixit's announcement that it was cutting ties with Samsung over parts, pricing, and availability. iFixit also cited limits on how many components it could sell to repair shops. Besides that, there were plenty of odd terms on Samsung contracts with the repair shops it authorized, according to a 404 media report. Yeah, this is what I was telling you in the beginning. If those shops find non-OEM parts in a phone they're repairing, keep in mind, it doesn't matter if it's working or not, they're apparently contractually required to strip those parts out and snitch on the customers. Sounds like you're in 5th grade or something, snitch on the customer. Anyway, I just thought it was interesting that Best Buy and iFixit, two of the biggest when it comes to repair, are not renewing the contract. So like I said, just trying to find interesting stories, and that was certainly one of them. All right, nothing new in the comments. So, all right, it's 8:41, and I've got 2 stories left. So it'll be early, but it won't be super early. All right, and this I thought was just a kind of an interesting story. I think you'll see what I mean. Bing News, better than Google News? And this was on Tech Radar. And again, this was a week ago, but I thought it was a cool story. Google News went down, and I tried Bing News. I might never go back. By Lance Ulanov, and we see a lot. He writes a lot of stories for Tech Radar. The news platform you're not using. I thought this picture was so cute because, I don't know if you've ever seen any of the old 30s and 40s movies where you got the newsboy selling the paper on the street. I don't know when that stopped, but I was born in 1945, and I don't think that was still going on then. So they're really going back just for this picture. I just thought it was kind of cute. So let's pop into Reader View. If we're being honest with ourselves, none of us like Google News, at least not since a series of design overhauls that made it less inviting, dense, newsy, and useful. So when Google News went down for a few hours on Friday, so that would have been a week ago, news was met with a mixture of frustration and a little relief. Oh, good, we're freed and maybe free to go elsewhere. I ended up on, of all places, Bing News. I'm sure you've heard of Bing, Microsoft search engine, in which I just never thought of Bing News. That was largely ignored until Microsoft added OpenAI's GPT to it and later Copilot, which made it the first AI-infused search engine. Like Google, Bing search reaches across multiple content categories, including images, video shopping, maps, and news. I've used various parts of the Bing search platform with a heavy focus on its newer AI capabilities, but can't say I've ever looked at news, and neither have I. Even after Google's disastrous Google News redesign in 2022, I didn't check out Bing News. Then Google News was temporarily poof, and I needed a news aggregation source. So I opened Bing on the desktop and selected News. My first reaction was, oh, how simple, clean, accessible. And when we get through the story, I'll try to show you an example of what it does look like right here on the computer. And if you look, you see he's got 3 stories across. When I do it, I see 4 across, but I'll show you guys. But everything that he mentions here, you do see it, and I will be able to show you. At the top of Bing News is a grid of 6 top stories. Like I said, on mine, it got 8 top stories. Each has a large image with the headline below and slightly bleeding into the image above. So you can see that here. While headlines from other news sources are not listed in each box, Bing News smartly includes media outlet icons and information about how many other stories on the topic are available. So it gives you the story, but it shows you, see, 60 relevant, 50 relevant. So pretty good. A quick click on one of the relevant news links, and you get another smartly designed page with a grid that prioritizes the text headlines, followed by videos, and then a list of more news on the topic. On the Bing News homepage below that top stories grid, Bing News jumps into a small grid of For Yous. So once you get past the top stories, then you see For You, and you'll see that when I show it to you. Stories. Bing News may think I care a bit too much about politics. And below that, a side-scrolling set of trending on Bing News boxes. It's here Bing News takes a breather with a clever side-scrolling take-a-break section that features lighter stories. It's fortunately only one story deep, so it doesn't overwhelm the page. Below that, it hops into geolocated local news, which is followed by a long list of more news headlines. And this is what he likes about it, fairly balanced. I think Bing News achieves a good balance here of prioritizing the top news, giving you a slate of tailored news, what other people are reading or discovering in search, a tiny break, and then getting into the meat of the news cycle. This structure is clean and logical. While Google News always leaned hard into news categories, Bing News takes a lighter touch. There's a broad category list on the left side, and it may be a better one since you don't feel that any news is shoehorned into an unnecessary category. This is a generally more inviting feel than Google News, which often seems to be trying too hard, especially in tailoring perhaps too much of the news to my interests, when in reality, I want news that's important and interesting. I do have my preferences, but if I see too much news about only the stuff I care about, I won't learn anything new. Smart man. And also might miss out on some differing points of view. Very smart man. Google News is hyper aware of fake and contested news and cares deeply about expertise and sources. How do I know? Google News insists on showing you suggested sources and a whole fact check section. Yeah, I think they overdo that. The latter is so poorly designed, I often can't tell whether the facts presented are false or not. Visually, Bing News wins by a mile. I don't just enjoy looking at the pale pastel Google News colors anymore and miss the stark, clearer look of 2006 or even the OG Google News. I like the consistency of Bing News, and that in general it's not trying too hard. There's no Bing News app, so you can't just pull this up on an app. Even if you download the Bing app, and even if you downloaded the Bing app, it basically hides Bing News under trending. So there's no app just for the news. It's in the mobile space that Google News almost outperforms Bing, almost. Google News on mobile is full of bizarre repetition and often insists, to my chagrin, on defaulting to For You news, and I always have to select headlines so that I can see less filtered news. So they're overdoing it for personalization. If I have run requests for Bing and Microsoft, it's that they bring Bing News to my mobile as its own app and essentially replicate the lovely desktop experience. Then I can truly leave Google News behind. So I just thought it was interesting that he had never looked at Bing News and really seemed to like it better. Let me drop this out of Reader View and let's see if I can stop this screen. Well, let me see if I can pull up. I tried putting them side by side and I wasn't able to do that, but I think I can pull up Bing News just to show you guys some of what he's talking about. Okay, so if I stop screen here and then I go present screen, share screen, and now say I've pulled up a Bing News, and exactly as he told you, I told you his had 3 across, mine has 4, so there's 8 at the top. The top stories, like he said, and like he said, it does show you other relevant stories, 20 more, 40 more, 14 more. And then, like he said, a For You section right down here. So this is more personalized. Then it shows you what's trending on Bing. And like you said, the take a break. So a little lighter. So just wanted to let you guys see it. It does look pretty good. And I only went through it just to see if it showed me exactly what he had said in his story. And it did. So just wanted you guys to see it, just in case you might be interested in trying out Bing News. So I'm going to, okay, let's see. Hi, Sim Zainal. Hi, Sim. Welcome. I hope I'm saying your name properly and not butchering it. Anyway, very glad to have you here, sir. Almost on the last story for tonight's show, but please come back next week and follow us again. And I'm very glad you're here. So I'm going back to my webpage to bring up the show notes for the last story. And here's Big House. Hey, Big House, glad you're here, brother. And I'm down to my last story. I'm by myself tonight. No Ted, because he's out on a date at the museum. He's having a night at the museum. So, of course, it was kind of quick, but glad you're here, brother. So, to my last story. And this was just a little informational thing, but I thought it might be interesting to know it's coming. Google Messages RCS partnership later this year might save your life. This was on Digital Trends. And this was from yesterday. Google Messages is getting a feature that could save your life by Christine Romero Chan. So let's put this in reader view. Get rid of some of these ads, I hope. Yeah. Google has announced a new partnership with Rapid SOS. I guess that's the company that could end up saving your life. This important partnership will allow Android users to message 911 emergency call centers through RCS. This new feature will begin rolling out later this winter. So towards the end of the year, I guess. As of today, and this is the key, you can only 911 with some. You can communicate with 911 through SMS texting, but only in select locations. It's only available to about 53% of U.S. emergency responder call centers. So about half the country is missing out. And since it's SMS only, you have all of the usual limitations that come with it. By using RCS and Google Messages to communicate with emergency call centers, users will be able to see read receipts and typing indicators from first responders. That's good. That will eliminate the worry of whether their message actually went through to someone who can help them. Yeah, when you need help, that's good to know. With RCS, you'll also be able to send high-resolution photos and videos. Doing this in an emergency situation can result in faster aid and get a more effective response from emergency responders. That's very good. So there's just a sample. I guess this is one of the ones that works right now. But like I said, half the country is missing out on this. Lastly, you'll also be able to share your precise location and additional information automatically through Android Emergency Location Service. This extra detail can include vital information like your spoken language, that's good, as well as your medical information, also good, which is opt-in. So you have to make sure to opt in yourself once this comes out. When this extra information is provided, emergency responders will know exactly where to go and get helpful details about you, which is useful when you can't physically respond. So yeah, I would say opt in when you're setting up. It's a little too late when you need it in an emergency. Through this partnership with Rapid SOS, RCS support will roll out to emergency call centers in the U.S. beginning this winter. The service will be made available to every 911 agency in the U.S. at no cost. That's great. This is part of Google's ambitious goal to make RCS the standard for emergency services texting everywhere. So a very good thing when it does show up. So we'll be looking for that later this year. So let me get out of here. That's our last story. And let me stop screen. And because I told him, so he's because here's Ted's one comment. He took the time to let us know that he wouldn't be here, but he said, "Hi, on a date to the museum, but it looks like an interesting list of stories." And he already had the list. But in any case, yes, I all I kept thinking was, "Gee, he's having a night at the museum." Like I said to the others, I guess I've seen that movie too many times. Good movie though. Anyway, yes, he's definitely having a date at the museum. I hope they don't come alive on him. So that's the show for tonight, folks. Thanks for those who stuck with us. Thanks to Heisim. I hope you come back next week. We do this every Friday and we go through some stories that I think might be interesting. And Big House, always glad when you get a chance to pop in. We didn't get Brian tonight, so he must be busy, but if I know him, he'll be kicking himself for missing it, and he'll be giving a donation like he always does when he misses the show anyway. So you guys are very faithful and very much appreciate you guys. Thanks, Eleanor. Thanks, Annette. And at least Ted took the time to let us know where he was and why he didn't make it. So I hope you guys have a beautiful weekend, and I hope everybody has a very blessed weekend. And let's always remember, we all do better when we love each other. Good night, folks.